Welcome to Amazon Answers. I'm Jared, and today we are discussing Wonder Woman Black and Gold. So, here's an interesting thing about this series. So, here it is, by the way, and I'll explain why this is significant because occasionally what you will find is comics tend to do like these cool, like colored, like special issues. Like they'll have like Wolverine Black and Blood, where it's a black and white art, but every time there is like some type of red, it's that's the only thing that gets colored, and it's normally like relevant to the character that the story is about. Now with Black and Gold, the way I kind of like to take it with this is like Black and Gold is essentially like, okay, so the reason why it's gold is the lasso of truth, and it's more devoted to like the truth of who Diana is. And I've long said that one of the things that you really need to properly represent with Diana is her devotion to truth, because too many writers just don't do that. So let's check it out. All right, so Black and Gold, and this is done by many different writers and artists, and it's one of the most like artistic endeavors that like has been done with the Amazon. So I'm really excited to see what we have here, because and by some of the creators are like Stephanie Williams, interesting, Robert Venditti, another fantastic writer, Christos Gage, Michael Conrad, Liam Sharp, a lot of really great great like creatives and such. And by the way, so I'll unshare this real quick, but yeah, there's like a lot of like really cool like a lot of really interesting like creative work with this. And so it's actually interesting about like this whole idea is that it harkens back to like a lot of really interesting like character work with Diana, because again, what this shows is like the problem that I always say with DC and the way they portray Wonder Woman, or at least a lot of writers portray Wonder Woman, is they tend to de-emphasize the Amazon part of Diana. And the thing about that is that you really cannot like the peaceful person. Let me put it to you that way. Because when you de-emphasize the peaceful part of Diana, you're de-emphasizing like one of the most key like points of Diana, because again, she is a like warrior for peace, as said. Some people think it's like it makes her like a walking contradiction. You guys all know that I find that to be a gross mischaracterization of the character, but what do I know? I'm just a random YouTuber. But so let's do this. So Black and Gold. It'll become immediately apparent what this is. So what's cool about this is so that this is what I mean. All the armor, like where the gold would be on the armor, is like colored, but everything else is black and white. So it does a lot of cool stuff. So with this one, Hippolyta's sick, so Diana returns home to attend to her mother. And what I like about this, first off, this has a very important reference. If you notice the costume that Diana's wearing, that's the costume that she wore in the beginning of the George Perez run. It's a little bit more of like her Amazonian outfit. And she even talks about like, you're keeping all my old clothes. And this is another thing that like, and Britt and I have talked about this story as well, because it has lots of like homage to Super Wonder and such. So let's keep going with this. And so it's like Hippolyta staying with Diana. What's kind of funny is like they even have the Wi-Fi password it is Diana baby girl 322, and there's like a bunch of hearts. So that's funny about that. And it's basically what they imply here is that Hippolyta faked being sick just so Diana would come see her, which I'm like, that's another thing about here's how you can actually like humanize characters, put them in like some of the similar situations, but don't lose the character identity. I know it's a balancing act, but a lot of great writers have managed to like achieve that to like achieve the proper balance. And as we know with Diana, it's all balance what you need. So then, so it's like Diana's also sick and stuff. So, but what's kind of cool about this is Diana is on the phone with Clark, and then Hippolyta says, "Oh, is Clark your boyfriend?" And then Diana goes, "Gotta go, bye." I love that. That's really good. And so this is where it's revealed that like like the whole thing was Hippolyta wanted Diana to come visit her. She understands the trials and like the trials that Diana undergoes in man's world, but she also wants her daughter to come see her. So it's part of the fun there, and again, I really like this is where this page actually works really well to demonstrate what I mean by this, because with the artistic like depiction of like they even have the golden like sunlight here with the gold again, the golden armor. There's a lot of like ways that you can make this type of thing work. You can even do like Superman red and blue if you wanted to do that, or like black and red. I wouldn't do black and blue because that has like very negative connotations, but still. So then we have another story. And again, so this is done by multiple artists and writers. It's just the only similarity, the only like through line is the black and gold part. So here we have Diana like undergoing more trials, going like fighting like Medusa and stuff. And this is the other thing that I really like about this series. It weighs in on multiple parts of Diana's heritage, even as a character out of Greek mythology, because little does the average person know, Diana herself, I'm not sure if it was like in Amazon or something like that, is a like Greek mythology like character. So we see that like, so it's also in Doom's doorway. We see Cersei, and I like the Cersei. I like the way the golden is done here because it looks kind of ancient with like the rust and stuff. Obviously, it's not like rusty, but I like the way it kind of has like a burnished look to it. And I also really love the way the energy field is done here because I like it when art is colored in a way that it makes it look like it's like glow in the dark or glowing, because that really immerses the reader in like what they're looking at. So the next one we have is Diana. So remember, this came out pre New History of the DC Universe, which established that Hippolyta was Wonder Woman in World War II. Even now, this still works because it's called Wonder Woman, so we could still take this Hippolyta. So in this one, we see like Diana helps some world soldiers. I love the image of her like taking out a German tank. And like years later, she sees like the grave of like one of the soldiers that died. And then we see like, and I love the way that this is done. The only thing that I think would have been interesting is if maybe they did it where like Flash's lightning bolt was colored, Batman's oval, because it's still like the gold oval and stuff, and maybe the golden S on the back of Superman's cape. But I understand it, but it's not necessarily a required thing. And I just love the way this is done with like the sunlight coming through, even just like the line of the boot. And then even like Diana's irises are just gold. So the gold in this is done like really, really, really well. So the other thing that we see is that one of the soldiers Diana had saved, and like he survived. He like lost a limb, but he still survived. And then he ran for Senate. Then he died. And it's really a nice tribute to Diana's role in World War II. Then we have in Gateway City, 1948. So this is more of this is taking place in World War II again, because we see like the Golden Age Wonder Woman design. That's the other thing that I really like about this is this series in every issue is homaging at least one era from Wonder Woman's history. And it's really, if I ever wanted to show someone this is who Diana is, and because each of these stories does the peaceful one, the fighter, the person that's good with children, the compassion, it's black and gold. Black and gold, for the most part, covers all of the components of Diana that people have to know in order to understand who the character is. So then what we have, and by the way, drop in the comments what you guys think of the art so far in black and gold, and we can go on with this. But I also love this image where it's like Diana in the bank vault because there was attempted bank robbery, but again, it's like only the money bags which were filled with like gold doubloons, and the gold and even the gold like tape around the cash is colored. So I really love the way this is done, and it's Diana fighting bank robbers, and then she stops them, and then we get a story by Becky Cloonan of Cloonrad, yes. And what I like about this is it's just dealing with Diana's devotion to truth and more about the Greek mythology like component, because we have the three fates and they're talking about the golden fleece and such. And I really dig the way this is done. And it's like he gets, but I like where Diana, this is the cool part about this story. So Batman is supposed to interrogate this guy for like murder, if you will. But Diana gets him to confess without even using the lasso, just by talking and basically using the Socratic method in order to achieve this. So I really like how this is done. I also love the image of Diana with the lasso around her neck like that. I like when Diana's very casual about like her gear, if you will. So then, amazing Terry Dodson cover with that. I love Terry Dodson. I got to say, is like one of my absolute favorite like Wonder Woman artists of all time. They really get the interesting like the proper facial look of Diana. And then in this one, it's like The World Without Love is written by Mariko Tamaki, and then it's like one of the gods, Eros, is taking away love from the world, so Diana has to go and fight. And then we get some pretty dope like visuals of like even Diana giving the heart back to Eros. And I also really love the way this is done with like the shining part of it. I love when coloring can like make the art like so really pop. I talk about this every week with Britt when we talk about Green Lantern, because obviously in Green Lantern, that's another book where like the coloring needs to be on point because of the different Lantern cores. And I really love how this is like the explosion. It has a lot of energy to it. And then again, we see like, I love the way that this is done with like the sun coming in. That's the gold part, and even illuminates and puts color on the people here. And then Diana has like the shoulder armor, the tiara, and then the W. Then we even have the wine glasses. This is if you want to see like a lot of detail in a book, this is the one for you, I would say. And then here we have A God with No Name, and it's basically dealing with like Diana has to like investigate like her mother's sick and stuff. And we get like some story of like a Greek hero. Diana fights this guy. He's basically like a zombie or something like that. And it's another child of Zeus, because again, this is like homaging Diana having the father of being a child of Zeus, because that was an era of DC that they want to honor, which I may disagree with like making Diana the daughter of Zeus, because I feel like sometimes it's like, I do agree with the criticism that making Diana the daughter of Zeus does make her more generic as a hero, because it's like when you deal with like the gods, when you deal with like with Greek mythology, about a significant portion of the Greek heroes are just children of Zeus that get screwed with. So I'm like, I kind of get the criticism, because if Diana's like made of clay, if you will, that really makes it so Diana is like more of a unique character. Because as far as I know, no one really is like a being that was made of clay and then like reformatted. I really dig this. And again, it's like all the black and gold part. This is gonna be primarily an art stream because there's like a lot of cool stuff in here. I also love the goddesses like have the art, and I like where Diana has to fight blindfolded. Again, this really shows another part of what makes Diana such a great fighter, because she can fight you blindfolded and still win. It's like, remember, there was that portion of the Rucker run where she was blinded because she had to sacrifice her sight to fight Medusa, but she took on the entire Justice League by herself blindfolded and still won. So I'm like, even like Superman turns to Batman and goes, "Did you know she could do that?" Batman's like, "No." So I really, really, really dig when they can show how great of a fighter Diana is. Now, again, to go back to that, don't overly push the warrior part. I know that's the tempting part because she is like an Amazon, but Diana is more than just shoot arrow and stab. She's way more than that. Then okay, it's really annoying when DC Online has this glitch. So then with this one, I believe this one's more of like the silent story where like Diana's dragged and then we see like young Diana and like older Diana. I really like how this is done. And it's really is a like, it's called Homecoming. It's a tribute again to Diana and Hippolyta, and that's really important. Hey, what's up, Tavia? How you doing, my brother? And so then over here, Artemis, a character we haven't seen in so long. And then we see Nubia, and I love this design for Nubia, where, again, this is the case where whenever I'm looking at this, whenever I see, like, parts of, like, these, like, I hesitate to call them gimmicks because that is kind of like a negative term. Whenever I do, like, these, whenever I review these books that have, like, such a, like, unique, like, design style, this is the idea where I like to see what like different like I like to see what like how the different writers and artists do implement that black and gold part, because hey, it could be that like they just go surface level with it, but when you make the entire suit like this gold and like have it like slightly, you don't even have to have it like super bright. You can have it like slightly subdued. And what that does is it doesn't overwhelm the black and white part of the book, but it's still like obviously it keeps the black and gold theme going. So I really like when they do that. Kind of Spider-Man Blue when Marvel used to do these color books. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. So then we get it's basically another contest story, and this reminds me a lot of in 1984 when Diana goes through all those like little journeys and stuff. And it's like Diana and Nubia doing like a challenge as a team. And it's showing that. And I really dig the way that this is done. The art is very energetic. It's very like, has momentum and weight. And then, of course, Diana wins. It's a common motivator. And it's by the way, written by Stephanie Williams. Of course, she's going to write Nubia really well. And it's like, it brings Diana and Nubia come together as like, as comrades and stuff. And I really like how this is done. And then we get the acquaintance. I love this one. So in this storyline, what you get here is, all right. So Diana sees Cersei, and then Cersei has turned Superman into a gerbil. And what was kind of funny about this is that we see like a statue of Odysseus. And I love this, where Diana says, "I never understood the appeal. He seems like an arrogant, muscle-bound thug." And then Cersei goes, "It sound like someone you know." And then it's like referencing Clark. And I love Diana's like look at her face. She's like, ugh. And then you see there is she turned Clark into a guinea pig, and Diana has to trick Cersei into giving it over. And then there's Superman. He's like, "Let's not tell the others about the fact that I was turned into a guinea pig, okay?" And that's referencing how like Cersei is the villain that turns men into like beasts and bestiomorphs and such. That's what that's a reference to. Then we see a reference to Steve Trevor. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. And yeah, it is cute. I like this one. And this is like more of like. So what this is showing, what I really like, is this is kind of like a deleted scene of Diana talking to Hippolyta about her mission before she undertakes it, like when she's about to leave the island with Steve. And it's like it's showing that conversation. And what I really like about this is it's showing the two things. And this works particularly well if Diana has experience. If Hippolyta was if Hippolyta was Wonder Woman in World War II. Because what this shows, I've long said, the way I defended that is, okay, yes, it turns Diana into a legacy character, and you could say that diminishes her. I disagree. But what this actually does is it gives more context as to why Hippolyta was very hesitant to let Diana go to man's world. Because when you think about it, if Hippolyta was Wonder Woman during World War II and then experienced like the McCarthy trials, of course she's going to be hesitant to send her daughter into a world that looks very oppressive and like almost evil. Hey, what's up, Cameron? So with this, what this really shows that the way this really works really well, yeah, it's not a bad idea on paper, and so far the execution is really good. So with this, where Hippolyta can say, you have no idea what man's world is like. So later on, when Diana, like, let's say, returns to the island and tells Hippolyta of what she saw, she can say, yes, man's world is not perfect. However, it's getting there. Like, it's like there is hope, in other words. So that's where I really think that this does really well at showing that. And that's why, again, plus also here's the thing, particularly for people that like Diana being in romantic relationships, you can't really do that with Diana being a like immortal being that's like decades and sometimes centuries old, because you know what that does? Let me put it this way. You get into age differences, and that really like doesn't help the character at all. So that's really where I want to do this. But I love where Diana goes, no, if we are to act in the wisdom of Athena, we have to choose love over fear. And Diana says, no, I understand that you're nervous about this, and I get it. But you have to eventually, because again, the Amazons are not, again, let me rephrase this. Some writers choose to depict the Amazons as like warriors, man-hating warriors. And here's the thing about it. You really can't do that. You really can't, because that's not what the Amazons are. Yes, they are very like, let's say they are very, that war is a part of their identity, but it's not the only thing, because the mission of the Amazons is to promote peace. And that's why Diana's like their champion. She's their ambassador, and she goes out there. So I really like where this has, and of course, I'm not trying to downplay them being suspicious of man's world. Of course they would be, particularly if you go with their history of Hercules, 100%. But I'm just saying too many writers weigh in on that. Whereas like even after Diana has like brought trust, I hesitate to say trust, but a little bit more of like understanding. Kevin says, which honestly, a lot of writers really need to stop doing that. Yeah, exactly. It's not interesting, and it's like stereotypical, in other words. And then we see Diana being introduced to the world as Wonder Woman. She like experiences man's world. We see like she is with Steve Trevor doing stuff, and this is like also this is taking place after Steve died. Now, again, this Black and Gold came out before the Tom King, before the one that includes a Tom King story. So let's be clear. So this is talking about in a history where Steve shows up and dies eventually. That's what that's a reference to, which I'm not a big fan of the honestly, I'm not a big fan of this, because I really feel like it centers Diana too much around Steve. Actually, does Tom King do that in the books? I kind of dropped off on that after some stuff. The Steve Trevor worship goes a little far in that, and even in the story that King wrote in Black and Gold, it goes a little too far in that direction. So I'm not a big fan of that. However, with this, it's still one story out of the Black and Gold portion, so it's not that big of a deal for me. In this one by Robert Venditti, this is more of an espionage story, and it's drawn by Steve Epting. And I love that. I think even the sound waves are colored gold. That's great. And in this, we see like more of the armor, and Diana's being trained to be like in the art of being Amazons. I love where she goes. Where they go, okay, who are you? I am Wonder Woman. It's like for 21 days, she says, I am Wonder Woman. And it's like, I love where she goes, where it's basically like the interrogator starting to get very frustrated. And here's the thing, this is the best part of this issue. Diana's whole purpose of getting captured, of doing this whole thing for 21 days, is to get the general to show up, because eventually the interrogator be like, okay, general, you take over this. So Diana just goes, okay, I've been waiting for you, and then just takes him out. Because like she could have escaped this entire time, but she was there just to get the general and capture him. I love the way this is done. I love, this is where you highlight the attitude and bad ass portrayal of Diana. I really, really, really love this. This is really good. But so then we get to this other one showing Diana saving people, like at a refugee camp, and then we see Apollo, the god of the sun, the one that Superman bodied. And I like this design for Apollo. I think it looks really cool. And Apollo is trying to like extinguish the sun. So Diana goes into space, and like, because essentially what Apollo was doing was trying, apparently was he was trying to save Earth, but it wasn't as apparent. Yeah, Cameron says it goes to show Diana will play dirty if she needs to. Yes, exactly. And Diana will be snarky. And I love snarky Diana. It's like when in Absolute Wonder Woman, what sold me on it is in the first issue at the very end when Diana fights like the creature. Creature goes, "You dare challenge me?" And Diana goes, "Yes, I do. I do dare. I really do." And then basically says, "You will not do that again." And then Diana says, "Unless I want to." I really love that. I really love when you can get the attitude of Diana done so well. It's a story called Beat the Heat. So are you reading Absolute Wonder Woman? Yes, I've read every single issue. I plan on getting all the trades. If you guys are a fan of Wonder Woman, if you want good Wonder Woman content, read Absolute Wonder Woman. That is the book that will make you a Wonder Woman fan. It's already done it too. So I see so many YouTubers referencing Absolute Wonder Woman and saying, I actually understand the character now. That's the effect when you have a good writer that understands the character so well. And yes, I would say Kelly Thompson gets Diana to a T, can express that, and can introduce her lore and characters in such a way that it really you can't help but all of a sudden go, yes, I love this character. Yeah, she's about to go head to head against Zatanna. And I love that because Diana and Zatanna do have like a professional friendship in the main line. So this Zatanna being like a Wonder Woman villain, that's something new that I haven't seen before in a while. Kelly doesn't get a lot of characters. She gets this character, though. Yeah, I mean, I think Kelly gets more hate than she deserves. It's more of like maybe she wasn't given the characters by editorial that she understands. That's the other thing about some like editorial writer relationships. You could say that there are occasionally times when the editors don't necessarily assign the right writers to a book or a character that they understand. Like, again, I would argue Tom King doesn't understand Wonder Woman, but that's just me. But it's like characters he does understand, Penguin, and like he honestly gets the villains more. Or it's like when you talk about Joshua Williamson, I would say he understands Superman. Jeremy Adams understands practically every character he writes, like Hal Jordan, Carol, Aquaman. I'm sure he probably understands Diana really well. He sure as hell understands Flash. So it's like, it's more of a favor. It's more of essentially what another part of the editor's job that I find is the most, it has got to be some of the most fun, is being like a casting director for the book, because you cast the writer and the artist and stuff. Which editor gets Tom King to help him actually understand any of these characters? I have no idea. I think they give him a lot of leeway because of his name in the industry. That's just me. I don't have any evidence of that. Hell, I asked him to target. Hell yeah. So with this one, it's do no harm, and I love this one because this one has like kind of an old timey feel. And like Diana, I like the way this gold is done, particularly with like all the flowers and the sun and her armor. And we see Diana go up into space. And I like her in the spacesuit because this homage is like the Linda Carter show when Diana used to have all these different costumes. And I love this. So here's the cool part about this. You may be wondering, how is Vixen in space? Because Vixen can take on the characteristics of animals. So she takes on the characteristics of the tardigrade, which is a microscopic organism that can survive in any environment. So I'm like, as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, that is clever. I can't believe they never really like weighed in on that. That would be something really cool to do. And it's like, again, that's the cool part about that's when I know really gets the character. Because if you can make me go like, because I remember first reading this, I was like, oh yeah, that is an animal. So why haven't they done that before? And I love this because it's showing like Diana doing first contact with animals. So what we see here is like Diana loses the lasso and this girl picks it up. And we see like the power of the lasso of truth, and she uses it. And essentially it's at a Halloween. So this person's going to like a costume party, and she wants to go as like Wonder Girl or Wonder Woman. And she shows up. And then people's like, oh, whose lasso is this? No, it's Wonder Woman's. And then Diana shows up, and I love how this is done. I love how Diana herself, because she is like the embodiment of truth, is glowing gold. This is so well done. Like, wow. Oh, yes. PKJ, I think he probably could, based upon his work doing like a lot of sword and sorcery stuff, or even like Warworld Saga, because Warworld Saga could have worked as a Wonder Woman story. And I like where like Diana finds even the girl's glasses. I really love that. And yeah, it's so well done. I love how Diana even takes her on a trip in the invisible jet. And I really love the like way the golden jet, the jet itself is gold. Again, this is the book where I'm like, okay, you're showing me all of the unique ways that you can make this work, and I will 100% like support that. You are 100% showing me. I love this cover, by the way, by Tula Lote. This is really good. For this next one, it's written by Andrew Constant with art by Nicholas Scott. So this I love. So what this is showing is, so Diana essentially had to kill this creature. And I love where Diana says, I am sorry, my dear old friend, because this also homages, it doesn't homage it because what I'm about to say came out after this. Daniel Warren Johnson on Wonder Woman would be amazing. I don't know. The Wonder Woman book he did, Dead Earth, was okay, but it was pretty good. But it's like I wouldn't exactly take that as an entire qualification for that. I need to see more of his work with the character. So what this is like, what would homage this, I think, is when you look at Absolute Wonder Woman. I think it's issue 6. Yes, it's issue 6. It's the last issue of the first trade, when she's fighting the Chimera in like the gladiatorial pit, and Diana is begging to not kill this creature because Diana like respects animals so much. And again, that's the other thing. Too many writers, particularly like Tom Taylor or such, or like more like Injustice, really push Diana as like the warrior that's willing to kill so many people. And I'm like, that is, again, an extremely surface level understanding of the character. Like, I'm sorry, you really can't, like, that really does not look right of the character. Because again, it's like too many writers for some reason don't understand that the peaceful warrior is not like a contradiction. Because as I've said many times before, when you take it, like, I'm going to use a George Washington quote. Washington has said more or less that the most assured way to ensure peace is to be prepared for conflict, because inevitably you're going to encounter warfare or violence. That's going to happen, but you need to figure out like how to write her so she will avoid it. Like, I think Clunrad did it fantastically when you look at like the Asgard arc of their Wonder Woman run, where she crushes Mjolnir because it's like influencing Thor's mind. Once she does that, the warrior mode switches off essentially, and she goes more into the peace person, like saying, look, that wasn't you. Let's think this through. Let's see if we can come to a peaceful solution. And then they come to a peaceful solution. That's how you do it. Too many writers don't understand that, but that's how you do it. And then Diana gives this creature like a warrior's like funeral, and it's even like funeral pyre. And she goes, "Oh, Artemis, goddess of the wilderness and the wild, guide your child to their afterlife. Bathed in your spirit, let them fly. Endlessly, truthless, tirelessly, joyfully, knowing that they are loved completely." I love that. And it's like, even Diana sees a deer and stuff, and she's like, "Thank you, Artemis. Rest well, my friend." I love this. This is so well done. And then we get this story about someone that wants to like homage Wonder Woman. And in this, it's like the kid, the kids are saved by Diana. And again, I love the gauntlet thing. And then Diana lets the kid help her. And I love where like she didn't know, she wanted to be a superhero, so she was like being Batman. But her brother's like, "You can't be Batman. Batman's a boy." And then all of a sudden, like the girl now has a hero to look up to. And that's the other part about Wonder Woman that's like really well done that I like. So then we get Wonder Woman. This is written by Sina Grace and writer and artist by Leo Romero, the artist that did a lot of the character designs for the Spider-Man animated series, which I really like. Yes, we do have old school Giganta, and more on that in a second. Jargon, there's another story with Giganta in this that I think would be really cool. So we see like Diana encounters an old friend, and we see her in like her 1970s outfit. She still kicks ass. And Diana finds a villain, a former villain, and then Diana like basically reconnects with her. And I love this where the villain says, "I hate you," and Diana says, "I love you." It's more of like Diana loves everyone. And then in this, we see like this, it's at a like guiding like cult at like a Comic-Con. And then it says essentially Diana fights a cult. That's what this is. And I love, and a lot of these stories, again, I'm going through them a lot because it's like, this is primarily the artistic thing for this, but it's really well done the way this is done. And here in World War II, Wing Woman, where we have like a fighter pilot that's a woman that happens to be also. So the person ejects from the plane, and it's Wonder Woman, and she's in like actually this individual is like pursued by like, let's say like a German fighter plane. I love how she like distracts the plane that's on her six by throwing a dress out, because he's like, "Why is a dress on my cockpit?" And then Diana shows up with the invisible jet and saves the pilot. And then the pilot has like a queen card that has Wonder Woman on it. I love this one. And then we get to this one's really good by Rocky Tomasi, and it's Christian Alamy as the artist. And then this is called Hell's a Hoppin', where Diana goes to hell. And I love the way that this is also done with like the helmet and the gold, and like the giant bee called Beelzebub. And Diana essentially is fighting to the 7 layers of hell, and she encounters Hephaestus, and it's more of the friendship of Hephaestus. Again, too many writers, particularly recently, have made Hephaestus like too antagonistic toward Diana, and that's not the relationship at all. A certain writer, exactly. Then we have this story where Diana's sailing, and she encounters like the creature, and then Diana again has to like be peaceful to the creature, which I really love. I love how Diana tries to understand monsters before she fights them. So then it kind of reminds me of the Dante's Inferno game. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. So then we encounter. So here's the cool thing about this being. The being is actually like a scared woman that's like, I was so scared. That like, she wanted to like find her brother, and Diana finds like says, "Look, your brother was found." And so essentially the creature was like a sister that lost her brother, and she became like a creature out of a curse. And then Diana says, "No, your brother's fine. He was found." So the girl is able to die peacefully, knowing her brother was actually found and like had a happy life. And I'm like, yeah, that is great. And then Kurt Busiek, another writer who I think really gets Diana. We see like Steve goes into this building and is attacked by all these different Wonder Woman villains, and they're rescued. And I love this like golden creature that's like Really well done. And we see like it's made of fireflies. And again, the fireflies being gold. I'm like, hell yeah, this is so well done. Then over here we see this more like this almost looks anime driven, which I really like. And then we see General Antiope, and Diana comes every single day, so Antiope will train her to be like an Amazon and a warrior. And so this is another prequel. So as you know, Diana was like had to undertake the contest to be named Wonder Woman, essentially. So what you actually have there, like, is the way Diana participated without her mom knowing is she had a mask on. So Antiope gives her the mask that like allows her to like participate without being discovered, essentially. And then here we have more of like, I want to say a younger Diana, which I think is really cool. And then I like, the other thing I like about this is the different art styles that are like shown here, because each one fits like the tone of the story that they want to do. It's like Rob Leahy does this really well. Tevia says, I'm surprised we haven't had Kurt Busiek write a similar Superman secret identity story, but for Wonder Woman, which is basically the same concept from that one Elseworld story, but for Wonder Woman. Yeah, I guess you could. And then we have, I love this cover by Lee Bermejo. Lee Bermejo is one of the best writers, I think. Then we have this storyline where it's talking about like women being elected to like positions of power, which I really like here. And it's in the near future, which I really like. And we're seeing like the progression of time and such. And I like where like Diana sees the like security assassin guy and goes, yeah, let's have a chat, bro. He goes, who hired you to like try and assassinate this woman? Okay, let's have a chat. And then she like protects this woman. And then it's like the next generation. This story emphasizes Diana's position as like a role model and stuff. And that's the part, again, that they really need to emphasize with Diana, is that she is an inspiration to like really all genders, like 100%, because it's like anyone can like relate to her, but it's like particularly for girls that like want to seem like powerful and such. So it's like that's what Diana really is. So this is another story. So what I like about this one, so this is drawn by Liam Sharp, and I like where it's kind of him. So this is a break in the fourth wall story where Liam is like in his therapist's office and he's talking about this entire Wonder Woman story that came to him in a dream. And by the way, oh my God, this looks so good. It's also drawn by him, I believe. And he's doing this whole story about like, oh yes, I saw this great like story, this great Wonder Woman story. And it's like, well, Diana identifies him as a prophet, which I think that's really interesting. There we see A Lesson in Truth by Michael Conrad. Hell yeah. And what we see here, so Diana saves some people, and then it's like, she used the lasso of truth to help this guy see the error of his ways and being a criminal. And then the guy ends up being like a bookseller that's like talking about like, hey, it's one of those guys that like, hey, I was in prison, but then I came out and like made something of my life. Tevi says, yeah, I miss Wonder Woman being role models because honestly, a lot of writers don't do that. Yeah, exactly. They really need to like emphasize that part of the story. So Jargon, here's another Giganta story. So with this one, this is kind of cool how the way this is done. So Diana and Giganta switched powers. Now, a little known weakness of Giganta is that as she gets larger, she like, for lack of a better term, gets stupider. For lack of a better term, it's essentially like how she becomes like less intelligent, more animalistic. So that's what's happening to Diana right now, and that's really funny. So Giganta has to go, okay, stop. So she grabs the lasso of truth and tries to like help Diana. And what's cool about this is Giganta even forced to be a hero, because she's like, look, these people are good people, and you don't want to hurt good people, do you? And then Diana finally like is able to snap out of it, and Clarion the Witch Boy switch the powers back. And that's an interesting way that they do this. I don't know how I got to this. Hang on. Is I like the way that the art does this, in the way that, okay, settings, panel by panel, is the way that you even have a story where like you see the effect that Diana has on the villains as well, because the way that Diana is able to like redeem her villains, redeem her villains, but also help them see like the error of her ways. Because with Giganta is an interesting character because they have done both versions where Diana's a straight up villain, but also maybe a little heroic. What I like about recent Wonder Woman is that they have done it where, and this is going back to the Gail Simone run even, where they have a mutual respect. They're not friends, but they respect each other. Like when Diana broke up with Tom, Giganta was there to basically give her a girl talk and stuff. So that's the part that I really do like, because they respect Diana enough to go, look, I may be a villain, you may be a hero, but we at least respect each other enough to go, okay, there's certain lines we won't cross. So I dig that. I think that's really good. And then it's right here actually where Giganta goes, but it's not. I know that I don't think we're ever going to be besties, but I got some respect for you I didn't have before, and I really dig that. That's really well done. And then in this one, Jamal Campbell's art, which love, and just look at this art with the gods. I'm like, oh my god, this is so well done. Yeah, Flashworks is a great way of talking about it. And this is by Dr. Sheena C. Howard. I love this. I do wish we would have less friend time with some villains. Like, oh yeah, now again, jargon that gets into the balance conversation I have with Wonder Woman. Because here's the thing: yes, you can have like Diana like redeem, well, not redeem, but at least have a mutual respect. However, some writers saying that Cheetah's straight up in love with Diana, no, I do not see that. That is just. That gets too much like your personal fetish. So I'm not going to I don't respect that. But I love this with like the armor's done. Oh, the gold in this looks metallic. It's so well done. Well, then again, Jamal Campbell's art is always it almost has a 3D quality to it. And it's like any book he does, I'm like, is this 3D? Because it looks like that. And we see like the gods and Poseidon. And the lasso looks like it's glowing. The tiara on the bottom of the bottom right looks like it's glowing. Even Wonder Woman's and Nubia's knees, because of the knee armor. Again, it is the way. I love when they do these restrictive books. By restrictive books, obviously, I mean it's like it's in black and white, but also has the gold. You can only have the gold. Because this requires you to do so many different I bet you what they did is everything. I wonder if the way they did this is the entire book was colored, and then but it was colored as like a different like layer. Yes, I believe that is Poseidon. If I go back, yeah, because it looks like water. Mount Olympus. Yes, it is Poseidon because of the trident, as opposed to like a bident, and Poseidon being able to like blast water. And they like fight the gods and stuff. And I love this like idea. And then Diana like essentially like talks about, hey, it's like, hey, you want to go hang out? And then Nubia's like, I'll see you later. But yeah, so that's Black, and it's like, this is what it is. So Nubia is living in man's world, and Diana's on Themyscira. So like Nubia's like, hey, I'll bring you some lunch. I do prefer cheesesteaks. And then Anubia says, of course you do. But yeah, for this, and that story was also about the environment where like Poseidon's upset that man's world is like polluting. So that's Black and Gold. And it's one of those books that, and they do this every single time. I mean, this was even done for the 80th anniversary of Wonder Woman. And obviously, you had on 750. There's another one, and then this one is, I think, as opposed to this one being a series, a mini series. I think that the one that just came out is a one shot, which I'm like, okay, I really wish it would have been a series like this. We can get another trade, but I'll take it. But I definitely like these ideas, because this is the way you tribute Diana. Because this book, again, this is the handbook. Just put this in here because yes, it has the awesome action. It has Diana's effects on the world in general, on a micro level, on the individual, like people, like the little girl she inspires, but also even more on the micro level on each of her rogues through her relationship with Giganta. And it shows like her significant relationships with like the only thing that I wish was added more into this was more of the Wonder Girls, but you can't win them all, ladies and gentlemen. No book is perfect. But as for that, that's pretty close. And I would say if I had to give it like a rating, I would give this probably like a 8 out of 10. So let's go with some Q&A, and then we'll wrap up. We'll do a 10-minute Q&A. But yeah, so ask me any questions you have about Wonder Woman, Black and Gold, and what other like storylines that you guys would like to see on the show. Because I always love doing the audience interaction. That's always really fun. And yeah, so yeah, it's like, while it's a gimmickly idea for a book, the way that it was done, I really think that they achieved their goal really well. So it's like, it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, I definitely see where they're going for. And yeah, and Tevin says, question with Black and Gold, if they did do it again, but for the Wonder Girls. No, it has to be with Wonder Woman because she is like the like marquee character. But what you can do like stories that involve Diana's relationship with the Wonder Girls. That's what you can do. But it can't be just the Wonder Girls, because the other thing is like the reason why it's Black and Gold is because Diana uses the lasso of truth, and that is the gold part about it. Can you see Black and Gold getting any adaptation one day? I could see it being like an animated an episode of like a Wonder Woman animated series, like they do like the Black and Gold like art thing. That could be something. But as far as like, can I see it as like a general adaptation? I mean, yeah, I can see it like one day, maybe as like an anthology series, or like, you know what? DC used to do those animated features, whereas like an animated like short film, short story that they would put in like DVDs and such. I could definitely see them doing this for like Black and Gold, because I think they did. Did they do one for Wonder Woman? They might have. They might have. They might have, in terms of like doing a Wonder Woman one. I know Wonder Woman has appeared in one, but I could definitely see them doing something like that. I remember those. They really should bring those back. Yeah, those are fun. Like they had the Adam Strange one, which is a war story. They had the Kamandi one, which looks straight out of a Jack Kirby image. And then they had like the Green Arrow, Black Canary, where like Green Arrow is picking up at the airport and Count Vertigo attacks. I love that one. There's a lot of really good stuff that they did with those. Well, they also did that. That's where the Superman Shazam versus Black Adam thing came from. Yeah, so that's an interesting point that I always bring up when talking about Wonder Woman. Yeah, so what other questions do you guys have about this type of stuff? Anything about like what other characters should get it, Black and Gold, even general Wonder Woman questions we can talk about for right now. Could be anything right there. Any questions about where DC is taking the character of Wonder Woman? Could be anything there. Any questions? This show is a question and answer show primarily about Wonder Woman. But in the meantime, in terms of like what Wonder Woman content I'm excited for, so in terms of that Jeff Lowe book that was announced with Batman, I'm like, at least it's a one shot. And two, it's like, well, I do wish Wonder Woman got more books to herself instead of like constantly forcing Batman into it. But it's like, I mean, at least it probably will sell very well because it's Batman. But again, I would still prefer it if it was just Wonder Woman, so we can develop her world without like just that. Question for general Wonder Woman. I'm curious about the prequel show for Happiness is Stuck. As far as I know, it's still happening. There haven't been like any updates on it, I would imagine it's still on. I haven't heard anything about it being canceled or pulled or anything like that. Okay, Jess says, new to Wonder Woman, would love good stories with Wonder Woman, interact with the Wonder Girls. Okay, I got you, Jesse. I got you, Jesse. That's a fantastic question. So what I would do for that, interacting with the Wonder Girls. Okay. Definitely nothing involving Tom King, that's for sure. I would go with, okay. Hang on, I'll get some options for you. Actually, hang on. I can get you this. So let me do this. All right. This. All right. And then we on the bus. Let me get this. Yeah, I think that's good for right now. All right. So, Jesse, here's what I got. Here's what I got for you. I'll keep this up. All right. A good writer to go with is Phil Jimenez. I have the omnibus here, but if you don't want to pick up the omnibus, specific stories that deal with it are like Paradise Lost, Paradise Found, involves an Amazonian civil war. He really developed Donna as a character. Like if there's one writer that put a lot of work into Donna as a character as well, it is Phil Jimenez. Another good one is Who is Wonder Woman by Alan Heinberg. Heinberg was also the guy that wrote that at least co-wrote the screenplay for the 2017 Wonder Woman movie. So he really gets the character. And you could also go with the John Byrne run by Wonder Woman because that really interacts with the Wonder Girls. But if you're new to Wonder Woman and you want a good place to start, actually, let me do this. Okay, where is I have this? Okay. If you're new to Wonder Woman and want to know where to start for that, you want to go with George Perez, and here's a special trade for that. Gods and Mortals. This is the first trade of his Wonder Woman run, and it covers like the introduction of the Amazons. Okay, because this is the first post-crisis Wonder Woman book. And what this allows you to do is this is the foundational run that everyone builds off of. So if you want, if you're new to Wonder Woman, go with this. If you want to and just read on, because Perez will never let you down, giving you fantastic Wonder Woman content, and he uses the Wonder Girls. What's another option for you that I think would work for you? If you want the Wonder Girls, Clurad also does a lot with the Wonder Girls, and that's the one that's like Trial of the Amazons. This character keeps falling off her stand. Hang on. So that would be like this. Like these two also work. Hang on, I'm gonna have a good thing right there. Those do really well in Tales of the Amazons because they really develop like the Amazons themselves. Because if you want to know like what the Amazons are like, there's that. And then you could also go with Greg Rucka is also a solid and safe pick for Wonder Woman, if I have to say so myself. I'm just gonna put my stuff back on the thing. I would not go with Gail Simone if I were you, because the Gail Simone run is okay. It's not my favorite run. It's one of the ones that I'm like, I'm not a big fan of this one. Yeah, that Wonder Woman book by Jeff Love worries me because his track record with Hush too. But that's just one book, though. Speaking of Wonder Woman, what's your guilty pleasure Wonder Woman book that has great art despite the story falling apart? Oh, man. That's a good question. Guilty pleasure Wonder Woman book. Like one that's a horrible story, but horrible art. There's not a lot of guilty pleasure stories because, like, honestly, guilty pleasure is probably anything by Brian Azzarello. And then Jesse says, thanks so much. It's so great. Yeah, and I have plenty of like videos on the channel going in depth on Wonder Woman reading lists. Britt and I have done podcasts about it. So let me put it this way. You came to the right place if you want to talk about Wonder Woman and why she's awesome and where to start and stuff. So I'm like the big Wonder Woman guy, at least as far as I see it. But yeah, so that's like that's where I would start, and from there you can obviously keep coming back here. I hope, and I can give you some more recommendations, but the ones I gave you, particularly for what you want, those are good foundation points, and then from there you can like move out, because the Wonder Girls have had their own like mini series, if you want. Diana has done team ups with them as well. It's like it's hyper dependent on the writer, how involved the Wonder Woman, the Wonder Girls are. But most writers play them in at some point. Most. And if they don't, then again, it's like you're trying to oversimplify the character by getting rid of some of the stuff that makes Diana the unique character that like we all love. Because I'm a huge, because again, for those that are just showing up, Wonder Woman is my favorite superhero. That's why I devote so much content to her. So it's like, there you go. New question. Wonder Woman story do you think? Okay, which Wonder story do you think is amazing, but it doesn't like so many things bad? Again, Brian Azzarello, because that's a very controversial opinion in the Wonder Woman fan base. But it's because it's like, it's new 52, so I have a little nostalgia for it. By the way, Superman Wonder Woman by Charles Soule is one of the best. I'll get that transmitted back. It's not only a good Superman Wonder Woman book, it's not only a good Superman even though it's labeled Superman Wonder Woman, it's really good. So here's some more good Wonder Woman books for you guys. All right. These are ones that aren't necessarily Wonder Woman like specific, like Wonder Woman solo books, but they're books that should be on every Wonder Woman fan's reading list. Justice League, the League of One, where Diana has to take down the League because there's a dragon that like is predicted to kill whoever fights it. So Diana doesn't want her friends to die, so she takes them down Batman style. It's actually really good. But here is this is the book that got me into not only Wonder Woman, but Superman. Superman Wonder Woman by Charles Soule, New 52. So this is when they were a couple. And the thing about Soule that he does, for one thing, the couple part doesn't like overshadow Diana. Like she is not made lesser because she's Superman's girlfriend. I use the air quotes because so many in the Wonder Woman fan base think that this just made her Superman's girlfriend, even though that's objectively not true. But what this does is it really explores who Diana is as a, how at least at the time of the New 52, she had trouble shutting off being Wonder Woman and having her own like life and stuff. Whereas Superman teaches her to like open up and stuff, because again, she wouldn't necessarily like know how to do that. So it's really, really cool the way that that series was done. There's a lot of New 52 books that when I look at them and I'm like, why didn't people like these? These are actually really good. I'm gonna put these back on my shelf again. Oh, another good Wonder Woman story. Hang on. Here's another good Wonder Woman story for you guys. So it's in the book World's Greatest Superheroes by Alex Ross and Paul Dini. And I have the solo edition of this pre-order at my comic book store because I love it so much. But Wonder Woman Spirit of Truth by Paul Dini and drawn by Alex Ross. Alex Ross is like the dude that like paints everything, and everything looks like a work of art and like piece of high art, which obviously comic book art is a high art, at least in my opinion. But what I love about Alex Ross's art, particularly for like a character like Wonder Woman, he really makes them feel like gods, but does it in a way where they don't look above mankind. I'm trying to find my favorite image because I have a really favorite image of this. It is here with Diana coming out of the fire right there. Yeah, it's called Spirit of Truth is the storyline that you want to check out. If you want a gorgeously drawn Wonder Woman story, Spirit of Truth. Let me see if there's any other stories that I would recommend. Another thing that you could pick up that I think would work, and I did a stream discussion about this, and the Wonder Girls I think play a part in this, or maybe not, is this one. The Sensational Wonder Woman, Volume 1. And this is by a variety of creators. And I did I did a stream about this a while back. And it's basically just an anthology series of of different stories, also showing off the different components of Wonder Woman that I think are really some of the best stuff there. Let's see what else. Yeah, I would say start with that. Start with those suggestions and go from there, because that's like a lot of Wonder Woman homework reading for you, Jesse. And then this will be the last comment. We seriously need Alex Ross to draw an animated movie. The problem with that, Tammy, I agree with you, by the way, but the problem with that is that you have to get what like art style would complement like him, because that's like that, because the thing about it is like, yeah, it sounds simple enough. Let's just adapt this. The problem is, the problem is you need to properly represent Alex Ross's artwork, because otherwise it's just like, let's say they want to make a Kingdom Come movie. There's a scenario where they adapt the story of Kingdom Come but have a different artist do it, like they do it with like the DC AMUR style, the DC AUR style, and not Alex Ross. And they can't do that because a significant part of what makes Kingdom Come so awesome is the Alex Ross art. But yeah, so that's where I think I'm going to leave it. This was a fun stream. I love hanging out with you guys. So as for Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about like the Tomorrowverse Wonder Woman, like the one from Justice Society World War II, Justice League Warworld Saga. World, it's called World Bag. I call it World Saga. And the Crisis trilogy movies, and why she is like the best animated Wonder Woman that has ever existed, in my opinion. For Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be doing an episode where we're going to talk about how we would reboot Superman and Wonder Woman as characters. And then as far as like movie night, we're going to be talking about Conan the Barbarian, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And in terms of Under Two Capes, we're going to be talking about the boys and I are going to talk about if we were editorially in charge of like DC and Marvel, what would we do? What decisions would we make? How would we dictate the line and stuff? So that's what I got. Remember, Steve Trevor, Steve Never, he's a sack of potatoes. Those of you that watched last night's Super Wonder episode know what I'm talking about. So it's the Max About for Life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.